بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
So the next thing we'll try to install the Microsoft CS server. So in the previous sections we have connected our Windows server. You can use any of the Windows server like 2008, 2012 or 2016. Slightly there will be slight difference in the screen outputs. So I'm going to make this as my enterprise CS server using Microsoft operating system. And this CA is responsible for issuing some certificates which will be used for mutual authentication between the controllers. That's something we'll be using here. So the first step, we need to set up the CS services in your Windows machine. So the prerequisite, I do have my topology, which is already running Windows server in my network. And I already have a remote desktop connection to that particular server here. Now, this is a remote desktop connection for the server. Either you can open up inside the VNC player, or here I'm using a remote RDP connection. So in my case, what I did is I connected this to the local network, and it is getting the IP 192.168.15.33 through DHCP from a wireless router. And I'm using RDP from my laptop here. So from my laptop, I have two RDP connections. One is going to my server, which is 15.10, where this EV is running. And inside that, there is a server running 15.33. So that's how I'm doing here. So to make it simple, you can also run it inside the VNC player. So this is my 33, which is on the Windows machine here. So the first step, what we'll be doing is we have to adjust the time. So we need to make sure that when you're issuing the certificates, you must have a common synchronized time, common time zone settings. So I'm going to adjust those date and time, the same time zone what I'm using in my labs. So in my labs, I'm using Asia Dubai time. So probably I'll try to set this time zone. I will change this to the same time zone. So let's go ahead and change this one. So I'll set the time zone auto to off. And from here, we'll make it as UTC 4. UTC plus 4, which is the exact time zone I'm using. The Abu Dhabi, Muscat, this is the time zone what I'm using. So make sure that you adjust that. So in our labs also, if you remember, when we did the configuration inside the vManage or the controllers, we did the same thing over there as well. Now, once we do this, the next step, we'll try to add the role. So here we'll try to see a step-by-step guide on how to install and configure the Windows CS server, including certificate authority web enrollment component. So we need to get back to our server manager. So go to start button and open up the server manager. From there, we need to add the roles. So let's go to server manager, and I'm going to select the local server which I'm using here. And here there will be a manage option. From the manage, we are going to select add roles option. And now here, now we are going to add any roles. Now, typically, if you know Windows operating systems, so you're going to add additional services in the similar process. So in my case, this is the first step. Now here, we are going to install this server as enterprise root CS server. So we need to enable the CS services on this server computer here. Now, once we do this, now you can this is just an introduction page before you begin page. Now here we are going to select the option here. Now the installation type. Now what will be the installation type? Now here we will be selecting a role based or the feature based installation, where we are just trying to configure just one single server because we don't have multiple server roles. So we'll be using this role based. Click on next. And once you click on next, then we need to select the list of servers. Like here, it will show you if you have multiple servers, then it will show you. In my case, I just have only one server, so I'm going to select that and click on next. And once you click on that, the next step is we need to add the features. Now here we need to select what are the features you want to enable. So I'm going to tick this Active Directory Certificate Services. So we need to make sure that we tick that option and click on Add Features. And the other option should be now, I think this is the only option we need to select. Now we have to select this feature and click on Next. Now again, in the next option, it's going to ask you some other options like .NET. It's automatically tick this option. You can also tick this one if you want. Basically, you need a .NET framework features for that. Just click on it, and any other features not required. You just click on Next here. And once you click on Next here, it will show you the Active Directory Services information. Basically, it provides a certificate infrastructure for your network. So click Next, and then here we have to select two options. Because here we are going to make Active Directory Certificate Services we are going to use. So we have to select the certificate authority, and also we have to tick this option called Certificate Authority Web Enrollment. So these are the two options we need to take for enabling the Certificate Authority Services inside the Microsoft operating system. Now, once you click on Next option, now the next option here, it shows you the web servers IS role. Now, if you can just skip this one, click on Next, and just go with the default options, click Next. And once you click on this next option here, it's going to ask you, do you need to specify an alternate source path for installation? So I don't want to make any changes. I just go with the default. So I just go ahead and click on the next. So basically in this window, it is a kind of a confirmation of all the selected services and the features. Okay, so you can also use an automatic restart option at the top. So again, it is advisable not to use a Windows Server because it might restart once the installation will complete. So I'm just unticking this option here. So this installation process can take 5 to 10 minutes depending upon how busy the server is. And once it completes the process, we need to go to the next, probably where we have an option called Active Directory Service Certificates. We'll be doing that next. So let's wait for this process to finish up. So once we summarize, we just need to click on install, and this process may take 5 to 10 minutes here. You can see the installation process is going on here. Okay, so we have enabled the services here in the process. So either you can wait, probably it will take around 5-10 minutes depending upon the speed. Now here you can see the option, the feature installation is succeeded. Now once this process gets success, then you will see one additional option here, Active Directory Certificate Services. You'll find this option here. Now, not only just enabling the services, we need to configure the Active Directory Certificate Services also. So you'll see this warning message indicating that the post-deployment configuration is something we need to do. You can click on this to start the post-installation process. Because we have enabled the Active Directory Services, but we did not, we have enabled the Active Directory Certificate Services here, but we did not configure those things. Okay, so the next step will be configuring the Active Directory Certificate Services in a simple and a quick process. So we have to initiate this process either by clicking on this Server Manager dashboard, or normally you will see the messages here, or even you will find this Active Directory Certificate Services option displayed inside the Server Manager dashboard. So once you click on this, then it is going to initiate the process, the configuration process. And the first thing, it will ask you some kind of credential information, which is required for you to install the necessary services here. So already it's logged in with administrator. So if you want to change with any other user account, you can change. But at this point of time, I'm using the same. So when you click on next, now once I click on next, then the next, we have to select the services role. Role services need to be configured. So here we have to enable two services here. The first one is certificate authority. And the second one is we need to select this role, certificate authority web enrollment. So the first two options we have to select. Now, once I select these options, click on next. Now in the next window here, now you can see, now we need to specify the type of the setup for the certificate authority. So whether I'm using an enterprise CA. Now the enterprise CA requires the Active Directory domain to be configured. So, and also the members should be a domain members. There are some requirements. So here we are not using it. So typically enterprise CA will be the default, which we use in our production scenarios with Active Directory setup. In my case, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use a standalone CA where it is, this server is just acting not with an Active Directory. So it's like an individual member. So standalone CAs. So they don't require the Active Directory services to be there. Okay, because we don't want to make it complicated. But in the production networks, probably you may have some Active Directory services. You will integrate with that. So select the standalone CA and click on next. So once I click on next, in fact, I need to simply go ahead and configure. Now, next option here, before I configure, there will be some other options we need to select. Now here we have to select the root CA. Now here we will be creating a certificate authority, whether it is a root CA. Root CA means the root, and anything under that root will be trusted. Or if you already have an existing root CA, so you can add that to the subordinate CA. So kind of hierarchy you can add. So in my case, I don't have any other root, so I'm going to add this as a root CA. And then the next step, we need to create one private key. So we need to generate some kind of private key combinations. So we'll be creating a new key. We don't have any existing private keys. So simply click on create a new key. And once you click on this, it will ask you the option, what will be the hashing algorithms you'll be using. You can select any one, higher the number, the more secure. So you can use SHA-384 or 512 or 256. The larger the key length, the more secure. So this is actually the backend cryptographic algorithms used for generating the for signing the certificates at the backend. So we'll be clicking on next. And once you add this, then we need to change the common name for this certificate. So in my case, I'm going to change this certificate name as my Envoy root CA. So I can use some name for this. Typically, you will be using your name. Like I'm giving Envoy, and then I'll say root CA. And CA server, or you can just you give whatever the name you want. So this is going to be the name, common name for this CA. Typically your organization name, we can say. The next thing, we need to define the validity. Now this validity is going to define how long this certificate generation from the CA will be valid. So we can select the number of years you want to make it valid. So we can count. So by default, this is 5 years. However, you can adjust these things. So you can enter the desirable amount of years and you can click on next. So in my case, I'm going with the 5 years. So when I click on next, now the last option is it will ask you where you want to store these database locations. So the default, it uses this. you can change this path as well. So in my case, I'm just going with the default. I don't want to change the default path. So let's click on next. And then finally, we will be provided with some confirmation window with all the settings what we have selected. And again, this will be the last chance for your any changes you want to make. So finally, what I have to do is once I'm confirm with these configurations, I can click on configure. If you want to make any changes, you can go back a previous option and you can make changes if required. So once I click on configure, now it will start the configuration process. It's going to activate all your Active Directory services. And this is what you will see. The following roles services has been configured. So both the process, certificate authority is done and certificate authority web enrollment process also is done. Now, once you see this window, it confirms that your CA services has been enabled. Now you can click on close. Now here you can see, now if you want to find this certificate authority, now we can go to administrative tools and there should be an option called certificate authority. So inside the control panel, there will be administrative tools. From there, I can locate this certificate authority shortcut. Or I think you can also directly search with administrative tools as well. Now here you have an option called administrative tools. And when I open up this administrative tools, I should see one shortcut where I should be able to see the certificate authority. Now this is the one. You can click on this to open up and see your certificate. So you can either create a shortcut here. Now this is something you will be using at the time of revoking certificates, because when we are trying to issue the certificates here, we can see what are the issued certificates pending or revoked certificates. This information you can also see from here. Now this will be required when we are doing the labs where we might want to issue the certificate. Now there's one more way you can go ahead and verify. You can open up your browser, and from the browser I can go ahead and say localhost. There is an option called localhost, and then cert SRV. Now this is what the page you will see, because you can also visit your website where now probably this is the page which we'll be using when we start the labs, whenever you want to issue the certificate or download the certificates, those things. So we will be using this option. So you need to type in the localhost cert SRV, or you can type the local IP address of the device. Okay, so this says that this ensures that your certificate service is enabled, and we can verify the certificates or issue the certificate or request the certificate or download from these options here.